This is Backstory, the podcast powered by the newsroom of the Ithaca Voice. I'm Megan Zerez. It's Tuesday, July 14th. When Ira McKinley went to Wegmans on June 13th, he noticed a commotion outside. A dog was attacking an older woman, its teeth tearing into her stomach and then her arm. The bystanders seemed frozen as they filmed the incident on their phones. The grocery store security guard was nowhere to be seen, and McKinley, frustrated, decided to put down his phone and step in and help. Eventually, the police did come, but they were more interested in McKinley, not the dog or the dog's handler. And ultimately, it was McKinley who was arrested, just minutes after he managed to get the dog off the woman. That's this week on Backstory, after a quick break.
Backstory is supported by Cayuga Health and Arnott Health, members of Centralis Health, connecting our community with accessible, compassionate care that's built around you. From same-day appointments to long-term wellness support, Centralis Health helps you stay healthy and informed. Learn more at centralishealth.org.
You're listening to Backstory. I'm Megan Zerez. How do we get from a man saving someone to that same man being arrested for trespassing? What role does community outcry play in the way that things shook out? My colleague Fernando Figueroa is one of the reporters who covered this story and is here with me now. Hey, Fern.
Hi, Megan.
So, really quickly, who is Ira McKinley?
Ira McKinley is a local activist and documentary filmmaker. He is also currently homeless. But yeah, he's the man who was arrested during the incident at Wegmans.
And also the man who pulled the dog off of, this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret Wakely. Who is she? Tell me about her.
Margaret Wakely is 76. She's white, and she's also a longtime Ithaca resident.
Well, I live nearby. I walk there often.
That day, she told me she was just going on a stroll.
And this night, it was a gorgeous night, and I was walking up the side of Wegmans on the sidewalk, and I could see the tables where people sit. And as I approached, I could see that there were two men sitting with a dog, a pit bull on a leash at their feet. And I said to myself, I'm not going to make eye contact with that dog. And I'm a dog person. I've owned dogs. And as I turned the corner to go into the store, the dog just jumped up and clamped onto my belly and did not let go. It wasn't a nip. It wasn't a bite. It was a claw-like vice digging into my skin. The man who had it on the leash was saying, I said, get your dog off. And he said, it's my cousin's. I don't know what to do. And I noticed some people filming. The dog released my stomach for a second and then clamped onto my arm with the same kind of vice-like clamp. Then the next thing I know, Ira is there. I didn't see him fend off the dog, but he was the one who came up, and when the dog was off, people are standing around, and he wanted to lead me to a chair. And I said, I don't want to get up, just call 911 and don't leave me. And he sat down and just put his arms around me and said he would stay there and protect me. He would be there with me until the EMT arrived. And then a couple police came up, and I'm holding onto my arm, which I know has a gash out of it. I don't know what's happened to my stomach. I didn't even want to imagine. And then an EMT came up, and at that moment, I let go of my arm, and that's when Ira saw my wound.
After McKinley saw the wounds on Wakely's body, he became pretty frustrated.
And the next thing I know, I could see the police surrounding Ira with some tussle over there, and I yelled out, what are you doing? He's the one who saved me. And they said, well, he's causing a disturbance now, ma'am.
While first responders were attending to her, bleeding, she was telling police to stop the arrest.
Wow.
McKinley repeatedly told me he was frustrated about the inaction of the bystanders.
I got arrested because I'm yelling at y'all for this woman being beaten up like this. So I'm emotional.
And notably, the Wegmans security guard, described as asset protection.
And that's the thing I noticed. Asset protection. You're protecting somebody's asset, you know what I'm saying, and not the person.
And the security guard is one of the people who actually told police to arrest Ira McKinley for trespassing, despite all this stuff that happened with the dog. Was the security guard there when the dog was biting Margaret Wakely?
The security guard came later.
And you got people in there rolling around like you big security. Where were they at? That was my point.
McKinley and others have also said that, they think that race played a role in this arrest.
Yeah, I mean, McKinley is black. I think it's best if his longtime friend, Jabron Haygood, speak for themselves about how he felt about his friend being arrested.
And it's a shame that a tall, dark-skinned black brother got to be a victim of stereotyping still in 2026. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with him, his size and his skin color. Had a lot to do with it. Because I believe if it was a white man that did it, it would have been all worked out. It would have been all worked out, and he probably got some gift certificates.
And as Haygood, mentions in that clip, McKinley is black. He's also just a bigger guy. He's very tall. But there are other experiences that McKinley has had over the years that also factored into the way that he reacted that day. Tell me a little bit about, what he was saying.
Yeah, so Ira McKinley has told me a lot about his post-traumatic stress disorder and previous experiences with police brutality. McKinley says that he's been beaten by Ithaca police in the past, and actually his own father was killed by Miami police in the 70s. He's also experienced racism, and he's currently homeless. So he's been through a lot.
So that's from Ira McKinley's side and, his friend. But what did the police report say? How did that incident play out from their perspective?
Yeah, so, honestly, the police report just says a lot of what McKinley said. They arrived, there was a commotion. Ira McKinley was screaming at bystanders. He was screaming at the security guard. And that's when the security guard asked IPD to arrest him for trespassing.
So we know he was arrested on charges of trespassing. What else was he charged with?
Yeah, he was arrested for obstructing governmental administration in the second degree, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct.
And those are 2 misdemeanor charges and a violation, I think.
And 2
right?
violations.
2 violations.
Yeah.
We should also, say when, Ira McKinley, he reached out to us, he emailed me, and he's very upfront about the fact that he was angry that day.
Mm-hmm.
He's owning up to that. But I want to come back to the police report and those charges in a bit. And I should also note that those charges have been dropped. But I think we also need to talk about Margaret Wakely, who is, the initial victim in this case. Tell me a little bit about her injuries. What kind of medical treatment did she need?
So, like I mentioned earlier, the dog bit her stomach and her arm. She was taken to Packer Hospital in Pennsylvania. She was given stitches for her abdominal wound. And then later that week, she received a skin graft on her arm from her leg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, since then, she said that she feels a lot better. After the skin graft, she really felt like she could begin healing and, has called McKinley her angel. That being said, she was outraged when she heard that he'd been charged with these 4 charges.
So Margaret Wakely and Ira McKinley, they've been in touch since then.
Yeah, they talk all the time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't known each other before that.
No, I remember one of the first things that McKinley told me when we first spoke was, he's like, yeah, I just got off the phone with her and we spent like 4 minutes crying on the phone. That was they've like shared experiences. It seems like they have a unexpected relationship now.
Yeah. She has been very outraged. Tell me a little bit about what she's said publicly about the incident since then.
Wakely took to Facebook to basically share her experience and celebrate her hero. She's condemned Wegmans as well. Before McKinley's charges were dropped, she'd been calling for his charges to be dropped.
Wakely was obviously one of the most pivotal people in sparking that wave of community outcry, which is a big factor in this story, in the wake of this incident. And there has been quite a bit of community outreach. A lot of people have talked to us about this story, but we're going to need to pick that up again after a quick break, so stay with us.
Local news is the heartbeat of our community. When you become a recurring donor, you're helping to ensure the Ithaca Voice stays independent and free for everyone today and for the years to come. Donate today at ithacavoice.org.
This is Backstory. I'm Megan Zerez, here with my colleague Fernando Figueroa. There's been a lot of outcry from the community about what happened to Ira McKinley after he saved a woman from an attacking dog. Fern, how has the public as a whole responded to McKinley's arrest?
The community has really shown up for him. They packed his court hearing. There have been fundraisers to, support his documentary.
That initial court hearing for those 4 charges was on June 24th. What happened in the room that day?
The room was packed with people, and as soon as McKinley walked into the room, the audience began clapping and thanking him for saving Wakely. McKinley later pled not guilty, and their attorneys were working out some sort of negotiated outcome.
Right. And we didn't really get, a resolution publicly that day, but we later found out from McKinley that they dropped the charges. Did we ever find out why from the judge, from lawyers, from the police, anything?
I didn't really get an explanation from the judge, but in an email from IPD Chief Thomas Kelly, he commended McKinley for saving the woman.
Oh, wow. You also had this really interesting interaction with Chief Kelly after that hearing on June 24th, before the charges were dropped. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the most striking moments, I think, of the coverage. I was interviewing Gibran, who you listened to earlier.
McKinley's friend.
Yeah. McKinley was there with us. We were standing just down the street from the courthouse, and Chief Kelly comes up to us.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, we met.
And he tells McKinley that they need to talk. They're chatting for like a second. After I introduce myself as a reporter, Chief Kelly says, well, I just want to go on the record and say...
I do want to say publicly on a record, you saved that woman's life.
Thank you.
You know that.
Yes.
I know you saved that woman. There's no doubt that you saved that woman. McKinley was describing why he became upset and frustrated and angry and like the shock of the situation.
All that, but when I seen the bite, I just
It's bad.
Yes.
It's bad.
And Chief Kelly seemed to acknowledge that shock, that frustration.
I appreciate the shock too of being in that situation, and
Yeah.
Which is what ultimately led him to be arrested.
And Kelly seemed, just listening to that recording, Kelly seemed pretty, understanding, apologetic about the whole thing. And, it was the Wegmans security guard or asset protection officer who asked police to arrest McKinley for trespassing, escalating how everything shook out. Did the company have anything to say?
No, we've reached out to Wegmans multiple times, and they did not comment on the arrest. They have not commented on the charges being dropped.
Do we know if he's still barred from entering the store?
As far as McKinley knows, he's still barred from entering the store.
And we should note that he was at Wegmans that day because he was using the bottle deposit center there to recycle some of the cans that he had collected.
He was there to buy food with that change.
Right. Now, we also learned some things about how dog bites, animal attacks, are handled legally. There's something called the dangerous dog law. So this dog that bit Wakely, it really wasn't the first time that dog, she had displayed aggression.
Yeah, that's right. And I want to shout out our reporter, Hailea Potter, because she really did a lot of this reporting. She learned a lot more about animal control and animal law.
Yeah, the surprising complexity of it all.
Yeah, I mean, who knew that you can put dogs on parole? But yeah, the dog Lucy had previously bitten somebody at a steri, and as a result, she was ordered to be muzzled in public. The dog was not muzzled when Wakely encountered it at Wegmans, obviously, and as a result of the bite and the defiance of those orders, animal control has declared that the dog needs to be put down.
Wow, okay. Even though the owner wasn't there that day, do the owners face any charges or any, recourse for not having the muzzle on the dog for what the dog did?
Yeah, well, we actually received an email from Chief Kelly just minutes before publishing our follow-up story, which stated the dog handler is being charged with assault in the 3rd degree.
And that charge is associated with the incident that day. Wow.
Yeah.
But just to end, I want to ask, how did McKinley and Wakely respond to the news of the charges being dropped?
Well, obviously they're both relieved, right? I mean, Margaret Wakely is doing a lot better, and Ira is honestly using this as an opportunity to fundraise for a project that he's calling the People's Market as an alternative to Wegmans, something like a farmer's market, for example. He's also fundraising for his upcoming documentary, A Tale of Two Journeys. And finally, I think that Wakely and McKinley have developed a sort of unexpected friendship after all of this. I just saw McKinley a few days ago to write the follow-up, and he told me that, they see each other regularly. They talk all the time. He's, really on top of her healing. And I know that Wakely has really appreciated that. I mean, after being released from jail, he called Wakely. And when I talked to Wakely, she was like, I couldn't believe that he called me after, he's dealing with charges. He's got like this whole situation in his hands, and he's still making time to talk to me and making sure that I'm okay.
Yeah, just to process this kind of terrible thing that happened to both of them in different ways together.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me about all of this and going through the work of just getting these interviews, connecting with these people.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan.
You're listening to Backstory. I'm Megan Zerez. I'm just speaking with my colleague Fernando Figueroa. We'll be back with the headlines after a short break. Stay with us.
Independent journalism isn't guaranteed. It's built. Join the readers who power the Ithaca Voice and make a gift today at ithacavoice.org.
I'm Megan Zerez. You're listening to Backstory. Here's some of the other stories we've been following recently. Lansing Deputy Town Supervisor Joe Wetmore is facing legal action from a resident seeking to remove him from office. Lansing resident Lauren Baker is alleging that Wetmore improperly conducted town business on a community email server, or listserv, which she says constitutes a private email channel and violates the open meetings law. It isn't the first time the issue has come up. TeraWolf, the company proposing a controversial data center in Lansing, previously cited the listserv while threatening legal action against the town. Wetmore has been one of the data center's most vocal critics. Baker, who supports the data center, is represented by a law firm that has also advised TeraWolf. Baker says the data center is not her primary motivation for filing the petition. Nevertheless, legal fees related to Wetmore's defense are the latest costs the town will have to bear related to the project. And a changing of the guard at Ithaca City School District's Board of Education. 3 recently elected board members took the oath of office last Thursday. It could pave the way for a major shift in power. Over the past 3 years, voters have gradually elected board members who have pledged to change the status quo, particularly when it comes to district leadership and spending. Now that group of reformers holds a supermajority. After over an hour of heated debate, board members also elected a president and VP. The meeting continued on for over 4 hours. Board members disagreed on what seemed to be fairly straightforward items, like the formation of committees. And over the weekend, thousands partied down at the 4-day-long Grassroots Festival of Music and Dance. The party persisted despite wildfire smoke on Thursday and thunderstorms on Saturday, though organizers did say Mother Nature suppressed ticket sales by about 15%. Finally, if you've noticed Cayuga Lake taking on a distinctly tropical hue, you aren't imagining things. It's not due to toxic algae, though there has been a bloom lately, but something called a whiting effect. That's when the calcium carbonate, stuff that's in chalk and limestone, and normally invisible when it's dissolved in the water, precipitates into little crystals. Such events are common in lakes like ours, and often herald the arrival of midsummer. You've been listening to Backstory, the podcast powered by the newsroom of the Ithaca Voice. Our managing editor is Jimmy Jordan. Ron Van Ormer is our executive director. Our photographer is Casey Martin. Our reporters are Fernando Figueroa, Haley Potter, Brian Crandall, and me, Megan Zerez. That's it for this week. See you around out there.